Well, hello everybody. Back again with another book review. I finished the book Time Enough for Love by Robert A. Heinlein. See if we can get like a close shot of this. Now, Robert A. Heinlein is a fantastic writer, sci-fi writer. His main era in which he wrote was like, I don't know, 1940s, late 40s to like 1970s. And he's written a lot of books, a lot of short stories. Pieces of his work are everywhere. He's got quite a few novels, and he's got kind of an overarching story to tell with a lot of his characters in a different, with like a sample from each like main novel he has. One of his main characters is Lazarus Long, who this book covers mainly. He's the oldest human alive. He was born in 1916, and the book, is its time is 4272. So, a little, like over 2,000 years old. There's a couple different reasons as to how he's accomplished this. He essentially was able to live long enough until he was able, technology caught up and was able to help out with, rejuvenation. It's not too far-fetched. A lot of fiction requires you to suspend, a good portion of what you consider the physical reality and all that. So, he didn't just live a little bit longer, though. 1916 up until what fictionally is an era in which we can rejuvenate our cells or this or that. He actually had to have good enough genetics. There's a thing called the Howard Family Foundation, who started out just combining couples that have genes that just simply last longer, and they just keep breeding with each other, and he's a product of that. But as time goes on, and the success rate of this factor of producing long-living people, and at the era in which they do it, there's kind of like a risk to it, not necessarily witchcraft, but like, challenging someone's misunderstandings are a pretty dangerous thing in general. And so like the Howard families have to live in secret, and you get a little bit of that in this book, and where that goes. They're highly successful as well, and when they start having to colonize other planets, the stretch of time and civilization makeup in this book is very interesting. There's portions of the book where you're colonizing a new planet with quite a good deal of technology, but you're still like in the beginnings of the frontier, and it requires a lot of old, there's parts of this book that are like a Western. There's parts of this book that are like, like a romance, and there's, and when I say there's parts of this book is written like a memoir. It starts off with Lazarus Long being found in a situation where he's kind of wants to die, and kind of like the leader of the most progressive and up to par planet, like kind of like the leader of like the new age planet, finds him because it happens to be on that planet. He's hiding out trying to die. Finds him, tries to convince him to not kill himself, gets him and sneaks him away and starts rejuvenating him against his will. But it's he's like a relative of him, and that's what you get for living so long, and your genes are successful, is that you become like, you're like Genghis Khan, and having, Genghis Khan's genes are everywhere kind of thing. It's like, Lazarus Long wasn't a, conquistador, but he's loved many a times and produced many a spawnlings. The guy who saves him is one of his progeny. I'm not sure if that fits. But he tries to convince him to want to live. Nothing seems new anymore to this character, Lazarus. And slowly but surely, he gets acquainted with more and more characters who are on board trying to convince their senior, like he's like the main guy. He's lived. Everyone's related to him. He's the reason why the first colonization of the second planet was successful. Like, this guy is the man. And after that, he starts recording memoirs, and a lot of these memoirs are essentially allow the book to be a collection of short stories of his life, but they flow because there's always a current time, and he's always, he's either talking to like a very powerful AI recording his stuff, or he's telling stories to like his new family, or what will become kind of like his new family. And then there's kind of like this really great ending to the book where up until that point, time travel wasn't a technology. They start factoring in different like mathematical possibilities and try and figure something out, and start experimenting with that. And so it kind of allows the book to be whatever it can be. It's not just like, sci-fi action. In fact, there's very little action. There's a lot of relationship circumstances. Robert A. Heinlein was, I think, way ahead of his time, and he's obviously dipped into like polyamorous philosophies well before the hipsters of our age were able to cling to it. Though he's also a figment of his time. He's very progressive, like I said, but he also highly values like chivalry, where arguably chivalry, like he obviously would be considered possibly a feminist, but he's also very like masochistic and like not masochistic, misogynistic, but also kind of in a cutesy like liberal way, and it's charming, but you kind of read into that and you're like, well, yeah, you're talking that way to a lady because you care about her, but you're also, I don't know, it's like seated in like old school superiority kind of complex surrounding like male dominated societies or patriarchal societies or whatever. And it's he's part of that generation, so even though he's like way ahead of his time in so many ways, he's still kind of stuck in other ways. But he's a fantastic writer. All of his characters are wonderful. Previously to reading this book, I've read Cat Through Walks Through Walls, The Door into Summer, Starship Troopers, and last but not least, by far, A Stranger in a Strange Land. Fantastic book. Recommend that very easily to anybody. I probably already said that before. I'll just leave my analysis of this book there, and I'll go ahead and show you my next book. I'll be starting the J.R.R. Tolkien book, Children of Hurin, Hurin, I believe. I don't know how to pronounce that. He made up his own language, so, I've read all of his popular works. I've also read the Silmarillion, which I would consider my favorite J.R.R. Tolkien book. This book was given to me as we moved back to where we are right now temporarily, and a friend that I had a long time ago I met up with, and he just like had an extra copy of this and just like, here, take it. So I'm gonna read it happily. I can go for some Tolkien. It's funny because I'm also doing a pen and paper RPG game called The One Ring, where a whole bunch of friends get around a table and we role play different aspects of a fellowship and adventure, and it's pretty cool. So it'll go very well with like my mindset when doing that with my friends. So thanks for joining me. I hope it wasn't too long. I know my reviews are getting longer and longer, but I don't know, I just got a lot to say, and we'll just leave it at that. Come here. Come here. Come over here. Up. Simon, up. Come here. Come here. Seems like it's becoming a tradition to always end these things with like a beautiful, beautiful beast. And this is my main man. He's uncomfortable. He's kind of like, what is going on? He's a good boy, though. He's a good boy. Wait. Bye-bye. Ooh.